In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Did we not expand for you, O Muhammad, your breast?
Commentary. It was mentioned at the end of the preceding surah that 22 surahs from Surah Ad-Duha to the end of the Quran are mainly concerned with divine favors conferred upon the Holy Prophet and with his greatness. Only a few surahs are concerned with the conditions of the hereafter or some other subject. Surah Al-Ash-Sharh is concerned with special favors that Allah conferred upon the Holy Prophet. Its style is the same as that of the preceding surah, the interrogative style. In the preceding surah, this style was, "Did he not find you?" Here the style is, "Did we not cause your bosom to be wide open for your benefit?" Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 1. The word sharp literally denotes to open, to cause the bosom to be widely opened. In the present context, it is to cause the bosom to be wide open to comprehend the divine mysteries. The verse signifies that Allah illuminated his bosom with wisdom, divine light and peace, and made it spacious, vast and wide, as is said in another verse. So, he whom Allah wills to give guidance, he opens his heart for Islam. Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 125. The Holy Prophet's bosom was expanded to receive the knowledge and wisdom, and the gracious morals and ethical qualities, which the greatest philosophers could not match. As a result of this expansion of heart, Tawajjuh il-Makka, attentiveness to the creation, did not disturb his attentiveness to and concentration on Allah. Some of the authentic traditions report that the angels, with Allah's permission, physically opened the blessed chest of the Holy Prophet. Some of the commentators interpret this expansion of the chest to refer to the same miracle as mentioned in Ibn Kathir and others, and Allah knows best.
And we removed from you your burden.
And we removed from you your burden that had almost broken your back. Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 2-3. The word wizr literally denotes burden, and the phrase nak bazar means to break one's back, as for instance, when a heavy load is put on one's back, it bends. This verse signifies that Allah had relieved him of his burden that was breaking his back. What was that burden or heavy load? One answer to this question is that now and then the Holy Prophet did certain permissible deeds, thinking that they were of benefit and in the interest of spiritual development. Later on he discovered that they were not in keeping with wisdom, or they were undesirable. The Holy Prophet was conscious of his high status and close proximity to Allah. He regarded even such things as serious infractions. This was naturally a very heavy load that made him grieved. But Allah relieved him of his burden in that a blanket pardon was granted to him, and it was declared that he would not be held accountable for such things. Some commentators say that wizr burden refers to the effect of revelation. It weighed heavily on him in the initial stages of the prophethood. He was saddled with the nerve-wracking and back-breaking task of raising a morally degenerated people through propagation of tawhid and elimination of kufr and shirk, from the depths of moral turpitude to the peaks of spiritual excellence, and then through them to cleanse and purify the whole of mankind of the dross of iniquity, ignorance, and superstition. The task enjoined, so stand firm as you have been commanded. Surah Hud, Ayah 112. The Holy Prophet used to feel the heavy weight of this task and responsibility. Some narration report that a few strands of his beard had turned gray as a result of this command. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that the following verse has made me old. So stand firm as you have been commanded. Surah Hud, Ayah 112. Verses give the cheerful news that Allah will remove from him the load which was weighing down his back. The following verses show how the back-breaking load will be removed, and every difficulty will be followed by ease and relief. By means of expansion of bosom, Allah gave the Holy Prophet so much of courage that no instance of hardship seemed hardship, and no burden of any magnitude seemed a burden. And Allah knows best.
Which had weighed upon your back.
See Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 2 for the Tafsir.
And raised high for you your repute.
And we raised high for you your name. Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 4. The meaning of raising the name of the Holy Prophet is that his blessed name is remembered together with the name of Allah in all the symbols of Islam, like the kalima, the adhan, the ikama, and in sermons from the minarets and pulpits throughout the world. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. No sensible person utters the Holy Prophet's name without respect and honor, even though he may not be a Muslim. Note carefully. Here 3 verses mention 3 favors that are bestowed on the Holy Prophet: opening of the bosom widely, removal of the burden, and raising of the name high. Each of the sentences composed of a verb, an object, and between them is a prepositional phrase, thus, for your benefit, from you your burden, for you your name. This indicates the essential characteristic and special greatness of the Holy Prophet in that all this is done for the sake of him.
For indeed, with hardship will be ease.
So undoubtedly, along with hardship there is ease. Undoubtedly, along with hardship there is ease. Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 6. Grammatically, if the Arabic definite article al is prefixed to an Arabic noun and is repeated with the same definite article al, they refer to the same antecedent. However, if the same noun is repeated without the definite article, they refer to different antecedents. The word al-usr, the hardship, in verse Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 6, is the repetition of al-usr, the hardship occurring in verse Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 5. It does not refer to a new hardship. In contrast to this, the word yasr, ease, in both verses occur without the definite article. This indicates that the second yasr, ease, in verse Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 6, is a different antecedent to the yasr, ease, occurring in verse Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 5. Thus, it may be concluded that there is only one usr hardship and two yasr twofold ease. Twofold ease does not mean twice as much. In fact, it means manifold ease. The verse signifies that only one kind of hardship will face him, but in the wake of it many kinds of ease are assured. Sayyidina Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, reports that once the Holy Prophet emerged from his home in a very happy mood and, giving cheerful news to his companions on the basis of the current verse, said, "One hardship cannot overcome twofold ease." Thus history and biographical books written by Muslims and non-Muslims all bear ample testimony to the fact that the most difficult task, even the seemingly impossible task, became easy for him. The above narration further indicates that the Arabic definite article al signifies that it is an article used to indicate previous knowledge, that is, al-lil-ad, and refers to the hardship of the Holy Prophet and his companions. Allah kept to his promise to them in such a way that the world saw it visibly how in the wake of every hardship the Holy Prophet and his companions experienced the manifold ease that made their task easy. If a person does not achieve ease after hardship, it does not contradict this verse. In fact, even now Allah's universal principle applies. One needs to exercise fortitude against hardship, rely on Allah with purity of heart, devote oneself totally to Him, hold on to high hopes for His grace, and one should not despair of His mercy. If there is delayed success, He certainly will grant relief after every instance of hardship. Fawaidi Asmain, Naya. Hadith narratives support this.
Indeed, with hardship will be ease.
See Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 5, for the Tafsir.
So when you have finished your duties, then stand up for worship.
The command for teachers and preachers to remember Allah during spare hours. So when you are free from collective services, exert yourself in worship, and towards your Lord turn with eagerness. Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 8. The Holy Prophet is commanded in these verses that when he has finished his day's work of teaching and training his followers and other temple affairs, he should turn to Allah as ever with all his heart, that is, prayers, remembrance of Allah, supplication, and seeking Allah's pardon. This is the interpretation assigned to this verse by most commentators. Some scholars have interpreted it differently, but the foregoing interpretation appears to be the closest. The sum total of this interpretation is as follows. The Holy Prophet exerted himself greatly to spread the word of Allah and reform human beings. Exerting himself to human reform was his greatest form of worship, but it was indirect worship through planning and executing the plan of human reform. The verse purports to say that the indirect worship is not sufficient. So, when he is free from collective services to humanity, he should devote time to turn to Him by carrying out direct worship, by turning to Allah in prayer for the success of his efforts, because this direct worship is what man is created for. Probably, that is why the indirect worship has been mentioned as something that may be finished and one may be free from, because that is based on need, and a believer can free himself from it, but the direct worship of Allah is such that he cannot free himself from it. He has to spend his entire life and expend all his energy in it. Note: this indicates that scholars who are involved in education, propagation, and human reform should not be unmindful of direct worship. Some time should be devoted specifically, in privacy, to attentiveness to and remembrance of Allah, as the biography of the righteous predecessors bear testimony to the fact that without it neither education nor preaching can be effective. It would be devoid of light and blessings. Note: the word fansab, derived from nasab, means to be tired. The verse signifies that one should tire oneself when carrying out acts of worship. One should not carry out acts of worship only when one finds it convenient. Binding oneself to a wazifa, a usual course of optional worships, is itself quite exerting and tiring, no matter how little.
And to your Lord direct your longing.
See Surah Ash-Sharh, Ayah 7 for the Tafsir.